What's going on, guys? It's your boy, Tom Talks Rubbish, and today I'm back with another Castle video. This time, discussing why its final episode was actually good. For those of you that don't remember, or haven't seen my other previous Castle videos, Castle is a TV show where mystery novelist that's the actor that plays him, Richard Castle, follows played by Nathan Fillion, follows an NYPD detective around, Kate Beckett, played by Stana Katic, to hopefully research his novels, lend his expertise from years of putting together novels and stuff and research in cases, and lended expertise in that. But it's more than that because they fall in love, blah blah blah. So basically, I end up together, blah blah blah. So I am basically going to talk about, because the final episode is looked at in quite a bad light, I'm basically going to talk about why it's actually good. So let's get started with, this isn't a top 10 list, by the way, I just have some reasons written down. So the first reason I have is, it has a lot of action and is very gripping. So for those of you that don't know, spoiler alert by the way, this is going to be a very spoilery video. In the final season, season 8, Beckett has been promoted to captain of the precinct, and Castle is now running his PI business. So, blah blah blah, everything should be happy. But in the first episode of the season, she becomes a target by some mercenaries, and we later find out that this mercenary was hired by someone in the CIA, codenamed Locksat. So that is who they've been after all season. There's been other melodrama with Beckett breaking up with Castle because they're married by this point, but breaking up with him to, quote, keep him safe and stuff like that. I don't really like that, so we're not really going to get into that because that doesn't happen in the final episode because they're back together. But, yeah. So, with that plot being very engaging, them finally having one last shot to take down Locksat after, in the previous episode, they basically find out who his accountant is, so if they take away his money, they're able to get rid of him, essentially. With that being in place, I feel like that was very gripping, and also it helps because one of the first things you see is an action scene where one of Locksat's mercenaries, I think is the right word, sets a car on fire. So, and it explodes. So to me, it's right into action, it's right into things like that. And then the second scene you see is Beckett and Castle waiting for this mystery meeting I just spoke about. And so the action doesn't let up throughout the entire episode. So I feel like that's a good reason. That reason we'll get into later. There's a very big emphasis in this episode on, we can only take him down if we work together. So Beckett and Castle work together a lot in this episode, like using each other's skills. Like Castle's writing, he decodes a code. That is hard to say, which I found quite cool. In Beckett uses a lot of her action and training in this, which is quite cool. But also and then we have Castle's PI partner, Hayley Shipton, who was introduced in season 8. What's it called? Also is a sniper and a lookout for them. So she is part of the team as well. She's not very good at sniper, but that's a point for another time. So yeah, but we also have Beckett's detectives, Ryan and Esposito, who I've spoken about in previous seasons, previous videos should I say, although she doesn't want them involved, they find out due to a third party, and are basically like, we ain't gonna back down. And even though they've both got kids and whatever to think about, so I enjoy that whole teamwork aspect of this episode. Speaking of Ryan and Esposito, there's a scene which I both like, which continues on the teamwork aspect of it, where Beckett, they've basically found out where Locksat is hiding, and he, what's it called? And Beckett wants to go and be part of the final takedown, but they basically say to her, no, you've got a target on your back because of this guy. We haven't. So I really enjoy that. And how that's it basically. And how they're willing to protect her for everything in this episode. From everything and for everything. So I enjoy that. I enjoy that there's a lot of twists. So continuing on the theme of this house that they go to the final takedown on, it's empty, and it turns out that Locksat was in another building, and because Beckett and Castle have made this plan to keep each other safe, when Castle tries to go to her, he's intercepted by Locksat posing as a cab driver. Sorry, Locksat's minion posing as a cab driver, which I really like, and he's taken by Locksat, which I really enjoy. And then this leads to a few scenes that I really enjoy, which is where Castle is basically hooked up to truth serum. And if any of you have seen the film True Lies, you know what I'm talking about, which is where truth serum is where you can't tell a lie. So one of the scenes I love is flipping heartbreaking, but Locksat basically comes in, and I'll reveal who Locksat actually was in a minute, and basically asks him, who knows I exist? Asks Castle, who knows I exist? And he is basically forced, although he's got tears in his eyes, to admit that basically everyone he cares about knows that Locksat exists, so now they're a target. And that scene, I watched it the other day, putting this video together, to get ideas to put this video together, and that scene just breaks me every time. So I really enjoy that. One thing I will say is, so I really enjoyed that, but going back to other things I've talked about with the reveal of Locksat, I like how there was a big twist, and it was Locksat is revealed to be someone that Castle thought was a friend, and that is the big twist for the episode, and I like how it paid off the entire arc of the season and stuff like that, even down to those of you that have seen the episode will know that the guy that is Locksat turns out to be Mason Wood, who was the head of the Greatest Detective Society, that Castle basically auditioned for in LA. And one of the quips that I really like in this episode is him basically turning around and being like, oh, I'm a sociopath, but I run this organisation, and it's just this Greatest Detectives organisation, and it's just a fun hobby. So that just makes me chuckle every time. So that's basically it. And finally, the last thing I love about the season finale is it ended happy. So basically, the ending of the episode is Castle and Beckett return home after taking Locksat down. Blah, blah, blah. But they are caught by a mysterious gunman and shot. Beckett shoots him, but in the process, Castle is shot and she's shot, and they basically crawl to each other and hold each other's hands. And then minutes later, seconds later, you see this caption of 7 years later, and it's got them and their kids their future kids all having breakfast together, and they're just the series ends with them just holding hands, and saying their catchphrase, which is always, which is basically their way of saying I love you to each other. I really enjoy that. I cry a lot during this episode, but I really enjoyed that ending, and I felt like And one thing I will say, just to wrap this video up, the producers knew a week in advance that the series was going to be cancelled. So I feel like, given the circumstances, the ending is fitting. Would I have liked a better ending? Yes. But given the circumstances, I feel like it was a very good ending. Alright guys, so those are just my thoughts on the Castle series finale and final episode. Let me know yours in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!